Bole Baba Ki Jai, Jai Mahamaya Ki Jai. In our last discourse, we learned about the king of Kosala, Dhruva Sandhi, a very good king who had two beautiful wives, who had two lovely sons, and he got killed. The king got killed in a hunting accident, leaving his two young princes, both underage, and now the grandfathers of the two young princes have come to Kosala to make sure their grandson gets installed on the throne. And it has risen to the point of fighting. So we'll go on from there, from chapter 14. Vedavyasa said, "O King Jamanajaya, when the war was declared, the two kings, excited by greed and anger, took up arms, and a dreadful encounter ensued. On one side, the king Yudigit, of long arms, surrounded by his own army with bows and arrows, came ready to fight. On the other hand, the fiery Virasena, the second god of the Devas, appeared in the battle, following a true kshetra custom on behalf of his daughter's son. Then that truthful king, Virasena, seeing Yudigit in battle, became very angry and hurled arrows at him as a cloud of rain on the mountain tops. On being covered, as it were, by the sharp and swift arrows sharpened on a stone slab hurled at him by Virasena, Yudigit too quickly shot arrows at Virasena and cut off all his arrows. O king, a dreadful fight then ensued between the cavalries, the warriors on the elephants, and the Devas. Men and Munis began to witness this terrible battle with wonder and astonishment. Birds, vultures, and crows, desirous to eat the flesh of the dead soldiers, flew in the air. Blood of elephants, horses, and warriors, the bodies that lay dead, flowed in torrents awfully like the rivers in that deadly battleground. The torrent of blood excited fear amongst those who came to see it, as the river on the way to hell. The Lord of Death is very fearful to the sinners. The human skulls were driven ashore by the current, and they looked like so many hollow shells or gores scattered there for the play of the boys on the banks of the Yamuna. When any warrior lay dead on the field, the vultures began to fly about in the air for devouring his flesh. It seemed then that the soul of the warrior, beholding his behavior, his beautiful body, tried to re-enter into its body, though he thought that it had become very inaccessible to him. Some warrior, on being slain in the battle, instantly arose in a celestial car to the heavens and was seen addressing the celestial nymphs who came already within his embrace. Thus, O one of beautiful thighs, behold how my beautiful body is laying on the earth below. Some hero got in the heavens, and he thus became very much attached. He began to describe his own heroic qualities and also to copy dotedly the qualities of the nymph that he so became attached to. The dust arising from the dreadful encounter of the soldiers in the battlefield rose up in the air and covered the sun. It appeared to be night. After a while, the dust became absorbed in the blood below, and the sun appeared very red, reflected with the color of the blood. Some brahmachari fought in the battle and was slain. He went up to the heavens instantly. A lovely-eyed Devakanya, a celestial nymph, desired to select him as a bridegroom with great devotion. But that clever man did not accept the offer, thinking that his vow of brahmacharya would be thus broken. O king, thus when the battle was deadly, the king Yudigit shot a sharp, dreadful arrow at Virasena and severed his head from his body. Virasena lay dead on the battlefield, and his army was routed. The soldiers fled away from that battle. Hearing that her father was slain in battle, Manorama became very terrified and anxious. She then began to think that the vicious, wicked King Yudigit will surely slay her son for kingdom's sake and to satisfy his enmity with her father. What shall I do now? My father is slain in the battle. My husband is no more. My child is a minor today. Where shall I go? Greed is very sinful. Who is there that cannot be bought over by love of gold? And what vicious act can there be that cannot be done when prompted by covetousness? A greedy man does not hesitate to kill his father, mother, spiritual guide, friends, and others. There is no doubt in this. It is inordinate love of worldly things that makes a man eat what is held unclean in society, that makes a man approach a woman who is unapproachable, and it is greed that makes a man discard his own religion and become without religion. In this city I find none so powerful as I can remain there under his shelter and be able to rear my child. What can I do if the King Yudigit slay my son? There is none in this world who can save me, and counting on whose shelter I can stay here without any anxiety. And this my co-rival wife, Lilavata, will always practice enmity with me. She will never show mercy on my son. When Yudigit will arrive in the city, I will never be able to go out of it, and he will today put my son in the prison on the pretext that he is a minor. I heard that in days of yore, Indra entered into the womb of his pregnant stepmother with a small thunderbolt in his hand and divided the fetus into 7 parts with that weapon. Again, each of these 7 into 7 parts. Thus the 49 Maruchus were born in the heavens. I heard also that in ancient times one queen gave poison to destroy the fetus in the womb of her rival wife. When the child came out of the womb, he was celebrated by the name Sagara, with poison in this earth. The husband was alive and still as queen, banished the eldest son of his king, Sri Ramachandra, to the forest, and the king, Dasaratha, sacrificed his life for that very reason. The ministers, no doubt, wanted before to install my son as king, but now they are not independent. They have now yielded themselves to the King Yudigit. There is no brother of mine powerful enough to release me from my bondage. I see I have fallen into a great difficulty by the combination of unforeseen circumstances. Though the success depends on fate, still one should make an earnest effort. If one does not make any effort, fate also remains asleep. I will therefore soon make out a plan to save my son. O King Jamanajaya, Vedavyasa said, thinking thus that Queen Manorama called in private the best and very respectful minister, Vidala, who was intelligent and expert in everything, and holding the hands of her son and weeping, said humbly in a depressed spirit, O minister, my father is slain in the battlefield. This my son is a minor, and Yudigit is a powerful king. Consider all these and tell me what I should do. The venerable minister Vidala then said to the queen Manorama, it is never advisable for us to stay here. Soon we will go into the forest of Benares. There I've got my powerful uncle, Sabahu. He is prosperous and has got a strong army. He will protect us. I will make the pretext that I am becoming very anxious for the king, and therefore I am going out to see the King Yudigit, and will go out of the city in my chariot. There is no doubt in this. Hearing thus, Hearing thus the Vidala's words, the queen went to Lilavati and said, O fair-eyed, today I'm going to see the father Yudigit. Thus saying, she went out of the city in a chariot accompanied by her son, attendants, and Vidala. Grieved at the loss of her father, fearful, distressed, and fatigued, Manorama saw Yudigit and performed the cremations of her father Virasena, and trembling with fear, got to the banks of the Ganges after 2 days of swift journey. There the robbers plundered all their riches and took the chariot and went away. Manorama had only her clothing that she wore left to her. She began to weep, and holding the hands of her attendant, went to the Ganges shore, and being afraid, crossed the river on a raft and went to the Chitrakoot mountain. That terrified woman went to the hermitage of Bharadvaja as early as possible. There she saw the ascetics and was relieved of her fear. Bharadvaja, the rishi, said, "O lotus-eyed one, who are you and whose wife are you? Why have you taken so much trouble to come here? Answer all these truly. O beautiful one, are you a Devi or a human being? Your son is a very minor. Why have you come in this dense forest? It seems as if you are deprived of your kingdom." Thus asked by the best of the Munis, the beautiful Manorama became very much afflicted and with grief and began to weep. She could not speak anything herself and asked Vidala to inform the Muni all of what had happened. Vidala, the loyal minister, then said, "There was a king of Kosala named Dhruvasandi. She is the legal wife of that king. Her name is Manorama." That powerful king of the solar dynasty was killed by a lion in the forest. This boy, Sudarsana, is his son. The father of this Manorama was very religious. He died fighting for the cause of his daughter's son. Now the present queen has become much afraid and has therefore come to this wild forest. The son of this woman is now a minor. He is now taking your refuge, O best of Munis. Protect them. To give protection to any distressed person is to acquire merits higher than performing a sacrifice. Therefore, to protect one who is very much afflicted with fear and who is helpless will have still higher merits. The Muni said, "O beautiful one, remain in this hermitage without any fear. Rear up your son here, O auspicious one. There is no cause of fear here from your enemies. Better nourish and support your child. Your son will surely be king. If you remain in this hermitage, no sorrow or grief will overtake you." Vedvyasa said, when the great Muni Bharadvaja said thus, the queen Manorama became peaceful. The Muni gave them a cottage to live in, and there they dwelt without any sorrow. Thus Manorama dwelt obediently with her maidservant, liked by all. Vidala also remained there, and Manorama began to nourish her child. Here ends the 15th chapter on the Devi Mahamaya and the battle between Yudigit and Virasena and the going away of Manorama to the forest in the third book of the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai, Mahamaya Mata ki jai.